Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing today? It's Sunday again, and there are words that are escaping my head as usual. It is the first episode of the month, and you know what that means? We are talking a rundown of this month's topic. But first, in the chat, we've got Eric in first, then Trail Dust, Ben Toombs, Mr. Maker, Bortagov, Jeff Killian, and 83 GT. And people filtering in still. I am not live.
Practice run, huh?
Oh, I am live. Ah, no, I am live. Okay. I'm looking at the YouTube panel, and it was like scheduled for, and I'm like, but it's supposed to be on already. All right. Anyway, yes. So more people filtering in. What's up, Robert? So, I told you, brain not braining today. Um, but shut up, Ben. But anyway, yeah. As you all filter in, we'll start talking about the typical "How was your week?" segment. I really need to get like an echo voiceover for that, so it'd be like,
I
"How
know,
was
right?
your
You know what?
week?"
I'll actually work on that here this week if I get a chance. I'll go ahead and get that set up as a button. Um,
Just
anyways, yeah. So
as as a Discord sound button.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
the easiest way to do it. Uh, anyway, so my week was eventful. I wound up putting in 92 hours this week, with Thursday being 21 and today being 22. I'm not quite done yet. I charged till noon today. I got 2 hours left to make it to the yard before I got to do another ticket and charge extra time. But um, yeah, so let's see. I believe this week was the week where I destroyed my. Was it this week? Yeah, I think it was where I destroyed my monthly challenge. Could have been no, I did that last week, where I failed on my monthly challenge for April. But so I already went over that, broke that in half. That's no that was a fail. And let's see, the rest of my week was just work, and then I don't remember Friday. Um, it's all a blur, because that's what happens when I don't get enough sleep and stay up too long, and I have lots and lots of conversations with people in my head. I always talk to myself in my head, and every now and then I have conversations with people that I know in my head. And yeah, and then I wake up Friday morning, and apparently some of those conversations with people in my head weren't in my head. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, I have no recollection of that, but sure. So yeah, that was my Friday, and then I came out last night to go finish putting one together. And what I thought was going to be, maybe a 6, 7, 8 hour day turned into, oh yeah, no, you're going to be here all day. So lovely. And
Mm-hmm.
that's basically the long and short of it. I mean, like, I also got myself leveled back out. I got my all of my stuff back in line. So I'm a little bit more stable than I have been for the last couple of weeks. It's been a chore to get that figured out. And yeah, I don't know. I got nothing else really. I mean, I'm excited to get started with this month's topic, because there's a lot of stuff to go over, a lot of funny stories, and just what ifs, and have you thought about that, and lots of little squirrels and rabbit holes. So I'll leave that where that's at. Yames, how was your week?
Oh, brutal, honestly. um, Let me see. Had a strong start, a grueling Wednesday. My Wednesday. So electrical. For the past several years, back in Illinois when I was working as an electrician over there, one of the normal jobs that we would do would be service and panel upgrades, where somebody, for some reason up there, just tons of like 60 amp fuse boxes, 60 amp services and everything. And we were part of the electrical generation of upgrading the electrical, grid and systems of bringing houses into the modern age, because, a lot of these places, you know, the original electricity for them was set before they had, all the dishwashers and electric ovens and stuff. Some of the places I worked in still had gas lines running some of the lights. It's like, good Lord. And so it's like I was really used to it, and really good at changing a, meter, disconnect, and the panel inside all in one shot. Well, when I moved and started working electrical down here in North Carolina, that's all already been done. And now it's, for the past several years, it's been, oh, I'm going to go change a panel out. But we're leaving the meter and the disconnect are newer, or we're replacing this meter and disconnect because the panel was recently changed and we need to upgrade, blah, 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 blah. It was never, you know, Wednesday was like the first time in a long time that I did the whole set in one go. And it was going good. I mean, there was some like, wow, cool situations. Like it was mounting things on a brick wall where you drill 4 tiny holes for the screws and then 1 2-inch hole. And it's like, yeah, drill out a hole and then chisel out the brick to fit a 2-inch fitting. And it's like, almost never does that line up perfectly. You're almost always like readjusting and drilling new holes. And I get, everything went smooth for the outside, for the inside. And then it came time to connect the two together. We decided to go through the wall instead of up and over through the attic, because the attic space where it was there was like this big. I'm like, I'm not fitting in there. Come on, So, and this guy did not want us cutting open his ceilings. So it's like, whatever. But ended up losing 2 drill bits into the studs because it was like old wood, snapping an extension bit, wasting about an hour and a half in a day that we needed every single minute to be fruitful. And it's like, screw it. I told the guy, I'm like, I got to cut open the ceiling and, to access above the panel, and ended up ripping the whole wall off and a big chunk of the ceiling right above it, and rerouting the feeder wires, and burned myself on a Sawzall blade, and just generally took what should have been a nice 8-hour day and turned it into like an 11 and a half, 12-hour day because of that damn wall. And while I know Alexis works 20-something hour days and 30-hour days, most of that's sitting down. This was balls to the walls. I only smoked 2 cigarettes through the day, and it was just, what's that?
I said, to be fair, all of my day is sitting down.
Yeah.
Not most of, all of my day.
Yeah. This was balls to the walls, balancing up on ladders, reaching into the walls, hammering down ground rods, chiseling stone.
Think of how much time you would save if you weren't walking around just rubbing your balls on the wall all day.
Right. But yeah,
I mean, like I just get this mental picture of like Will Ferrell and Step Brothers just running around the house,
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, end of the day, it was like, and then the freaking inspector came. I passed inspection without it even being done, because the inspector knew us and he wanted to see how we were doing, to get permission to turn it back on for the customer at the end of the day, because inspection has to be at before or at or before 3 p.m. And I mean, we didn't finish until 6, so it was like, he came by and checked to make sure that it was safe to turn on, called the utility and said, yeah, you can come turn it on. and they didn't get there until 6, and it's like, oof. But yeah, I ended up taking a muscle relaxer after that day. That was rough, I tell you. And then Thursday was cleaning up and finishing that job up, labeling the panel and then some other odds and ends um, around county. And then our Friday was supposed to be, a quick, easy bathroom remodel. Like, oh, just change a couple outlets, change a couple fixtures, install, swap out a bath fan, pull a couple circuits. I had completely forgot that this particular customer, who's a great customer of ours, lived in a modular home that they've been remodeling over the years. And when you're dealing with that, like the outlets are, anytime you change an outlet, you have to, rip it out, open the wall and remove the modular outlet and put in a up to code box. Like the codes for modular homes are different than for, stick built houses for electrical. So,
Right.
yeah, that was supposed to be like maybe a 6-hour job, like schedule it for a full day, just give us some time if things take a little bit longer. We still got about 3 more hours left on it, and we worked 9 hours on Friday. It's like the end of the day, we're like, screw this. We called our
Right.
boss and we called Jay and we're like, hey, it's like, do we have any time open next week? We only need like 3 or 4 more hours here. And he was like, and so we told the customer, I'll be here next week sometime. But yeah,
Damn it.
yeah, and it was like, all right, screw this, and went home, and then yeah, that was my week. I mean, um, that was kind of my week.
Right on.
I am on the subject of not blacksmithing and stuff. Last week I had brought up the D&D stuff, and some of the people here were expressing interest, and I'm kind of incorporating that idea into maybe some one shots and maybe like an arena based thing where we create characters and just kind of do simple combat things as warm ups and see how that goes. I'll keep you all updated with details, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Beat to shit and exhausted, even
Right.
even this deep into a Sunday.
And to be fair, we've only used up half of our initial segment time, but I mean, I think
That's
there's
because
not
Adam's
much
not
else to get.
here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Huh? We're missing Adam. So, but yeah, anyway, so this month we're going to be talking about different ways of manipulating metal, and by manipulating, I don't necessarily mean hammer and power hammer, but more like things like tongs, hold downs, clamps, various ways of just controlling where it's at and what you're going to accomplish with it. And there's lots of different things that fall into this category. Now, I'd like to ask you a question, Yamez. Like, so when you first start blacksmithing, like the very first time you're going to heat something up and smack it with a hammer, what's your go-to thing to hold that piece of metal with?
Um, I know what the answer you're looking for, but for me it was my hand. Just used long stock and stuck it in there.
Well, okay,
Um,
that's okay. The
well,
first time you needed a pair of tongs, so to speak.
that's what I'm saying. The very first thing that I looked into making was a pair of tongs. It was a crappy pair of tongs, uh, made out of 1/4 inch square stock, and didn't hold much. Uh, but yeah, I have used channel locks and vice grips.
Yeah, I was gonna go the channel locks are always a possibility, but vice grips are usually somebody's first go to. because you don't have to squeeze. You can just lock them down and then go. And what you really, I mean, like when you first start out that first time, you really think, hey, this is a good idea. I don't have to hold on. I don't have to squeeze to hold it to keep it from turning. I can just lock them down, and then and Bob's your uncle. I can just go to town with it. And then you start wailing on it with a hammer, and you realize that the vice grips aren't in line with the piece of stock. They're kicked
And
off to one side,
yeah,
and so trying to turn it is a challenge. And then if you've got it turned the wrong way, and you're not quite square with the your anvil surface, or whatever you're using for an anvil, and then it just, like, all that impact down on your hand, and it's just like, I I'm sure everybody had the same bad experience that first time with a pair of vice grips, and going, oh, we definitely got to do something different because this isn't going to work.
right. That's why most people's
Uh,
first attempts are making something to hold the metal. Even though it's one of the, for a beginner, one of the more challenging things. I still said it wrong.
yeah,
Whatever. Moving on. But yeah, it's like tongs are one of those things that once you make your first pair and they work, it's like, oh, cool, and then you make a bunch, and then you try to never have to make them again.
that's a fair assessment there. I mean, uh, I can knock out a pair of tongs in a couple hours. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I've seen people that, obviously, I'm not doing any of it with a power equipment. Just by hand, I can knock out a pair in a couple hours. But uh, if I don't have to, I'd rather not. It's like, I look at everything I got, and I've been known to, because I've got different tools at my home shop versus workshop, and I've been known to be at home going, okay, this is what I want to make. And then I go over to my wall of tongs, and the tongs that I need aren't at home. They're at work. And I'd be like, well, never mind. I'm not going to make that.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I don't want to make another set of tongs, and I don't want to have to try to make something else work where it's going to be twisting, or it's going to, it's just not going to hold right. So I've been known to just put off a project because the tongs aren't at my current location that I need.
right.
And I have never, we were talking about different things. I mean, like, I've tried coming up with things with, like, C clamps and whatnot, and bar clamps to try to hold something down to an anvil. I've tried making hold downs, and I've never really had any of those work worth a damn. They
Yeah,
always seem to
the traditional hold
not
downs I've
work.
never had luck with. What I've
Me
actually had
neither.
luck with for hold downs, they've got that, like, it's almost like half of a C clamp, with a threaded bottom that's meant to sit, or meant to attach to, like, a welding, or a, like a pegboard style table. And I took that and replaced the bottom with a 7/8 sock, or 7/8 chunk of steel, with a slot in the bottom, or a hole drilled in the bottom to fit in my hardy hole, and I slip it down there, and then you just adjust it like a pair of slip, or vice grips, and you know, and that actually works pretty well. I have tried the chain hold downs. I personally felt that they got in the way a lot
I've
easier.
actually I've actually had quite a bit of luck with the chain. I use that mostly on hammer billets. Um, when I'm like when well, I used to. I don't so much anymore because I just
You just do it.
manually manipulate it with the punch and the hammer over on the striking anvil. But early on, when I thought it was super super critical that both of your punched holes meet exactly in the middle,
I mean, as
I'm just
close as they
like, okay,
can.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I mean, you
To
can
be
be off by a
fair.
fair amount, and it's not that big of a deal. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I would throw the billet down, and then I would, smack it a couple times, and the chain would hold it quite well, keep it from bouncing off or whatever. And then instead of like flipping the billet around, I would like walk over to the other side of the anvil, or or kind of just turn myself so that I could turn the punch the other direction. And I'd do 3 hits one way, 3 hits the other way, and then I'd lift up on the chain, flip the billet over, and do it again, or whatever. Or even sometimes, I'd punch one side like 3/4 of the way through before I flipped over and did the other side. So but the chain hold down has always worked great for that. But it works good on larger stock. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the stuff that I do is smaller. I do a lot of smaller fine work, and the chain thing just doesn't really work, especially on my mouse hole anvil. It's real sway back, and I mean, it's just got that divot in the middle where it's, well, I mean, the sway, and it's obviously from heel to horn, but it's that when you put stock on it, there's like this low spot or this gap in between your
Yeah.
stock and the anvil, and that's just not really conducive to working well. So.
Yeah. No, I feel you there. And I will say, the only time that I've ever felt a chain or a hold down was actually beneficial to me would be certain pieces that you're trying to split, or you're trying to use a chisel and split down it a long ways. Where using your blacksmith's third hand, which is also a pair of tongs, if you think about it, is not really conducive, or you have to be at a different angle or something like that.
Right.
You just slap the piece in there, and then you can use both hands. And to be honest, with once you get like a treadle hammer that you can, use your foot to swing a hammer, it's like even then, like a hold down is useful for the 1 or 2 times that you need it. Is a hold down crucial to work? Some would say yes because they rely on them heavily. Some would say no because they don't mind that little struggle of, okay, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving. All right, adjust. It's moving, it's moving, it's moving. Adjust. It's yeah.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
like, yeah, no, for sure. Like I know doing say like an aluminum feather. It's really handy just to pop in a hold down, and then you can, because you don't really have to like chisel a couple lines and throw it back to fire. You can cold chisel all of your lines in,
Mm-hmm.
and so you can just snap it down in there so it doesn't move, and then just chisel in all your lines down one side, or maybe not all of them, but any of the ones that you're not going to go all the way through, and then go heat it up and bring it back out, do it again, and
Yeah.
I know for me, like instead of like trying to like lay out my stuff when it's hot, once I figured out that my chisel that's made out of that stress proof, once I
Mm-hmm.
figured out I could chisel cold metal
Colds.
with it. Yeah, it wouldn't deform on cold stock. I was like, well, shoot, I'll just I can do my leaves and all my layout and stuff when it's cold, so I'll just pop it in a hold down. And I'm not sitting here going, well, I got 3 or 4 wax on it, and then I got to put it back in the fire. No, I can go ahead and just do it all right now as it cools down.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not that
kind
big of
of
a deal.
set the hold down so there's right there, then sit on the horn of the anvil and just kind of like, yeah. Oh, you don't do that? Am I the only one that sits on the horn of my anvil?
Um, no comment.
Okay, then. All right.
Well, okay, so maybe not the horn, but you'd be surprised what kind of hardy tools you could make.
Right.
Uh,
To do. Them side angled Bics.
uh,
Traffic cones. I'm talking traffic cones. But anyway,
mandrel, if you will.
that's what I'm thinking. Mandrel, yeah. Let me see. Keith says it's all preference, but I usually use a vise while doing chiseling. Never done anything that I couldn't just hold the tongs against myself. Right. Yeah. But yeah, so it's on the subject of hold downs, as far as holding metal to work, the main benefit is in those instances where you need both hands, and it's something that can be done relatively quickly. The simple round bar with a shepherd's hook and a hand at the bottom or a foot at the bottom. You slip it down and hit it. Those work for a handful of hits and then they loosen up, at least in my experience. So they're good for quick things. But if you're looking for something like Alexa was just talking about, the feathering on an aluminum feather, you want something that's going to hold through a lot of vibration. So chain, or like I was talking about, those vice grip style hold downs. We're actually, Mr. Maker says we're supposed to be talking about tongs. If you read the bottom of the screen, it says manipulating metal. And okay, here's where I get to really throw you guys' mind for a loop. Tongs are something used to hold hot metal, right? To hold hot metal and to manipulate the metal. Hold downs are something meant to hold hot metal. So hold downs, the top of the thing that holds is part of the tong, and the anvil is the other part of the tong. Hold downs are tongs. Changed my mind. Now, to move on from that, and you guys are like, freaking tongs, tongs. Material stands, those adjustable height things used for longer material to hold it into the forge. Or again, if you can cross this with the chain hold down and a material stand, and if you're working on a long bar that you need to hold something specifically in the center of the anvil, you can have one end of it on a material stand and then throw a chain with some weights on it to hold it down, and it's just swinging there in the middle. So all right, I don't know.
Can you hear me now? There we go.
Yeah, I can hear.
You hear me now?
I was just gonna say, can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. No, I switched over to push to talk so that all the background noise wasn't coming through, because I started the truck back up, fixing to start rolling. No, I was going to say, what I've got for a material stand is I've just got this piece of square tubing that's on a four-legged bottom, and a single piece of square tubing that sticks up maybe 4 feet tall or something like that. And then I got a piece of aluminum wire that's just like hooked over the top of that piece of square tubing, and it comes down and makes like a little U shape. And then I can just bend that piece of aluminum to whatever height I need to hold the back end of my stock while it's sitting in the forge or what have you. And then in all transparency, there, I've also got a chain hanging from the ceiling for like heavier stuff that little piece of aluminum wire won't hold up. But man, that thing is so simple. It's just like, there's just a piece of sticking straight up square tubing and a piece of aluminum wire. I don't know what the thickness is, 1/8 inch or something like that. I couldn't tell you in gauge, but man, that thing is so handy. Just like bring it over there, just grab the wire, pull it up, and okay, there we go. It's I don't know. It was just a makeshift thing that I came up with one day. Like, oh, I need to make one of these. Here, this will work for now. 3 years later, I'm still using that.
Right. Yeah, I still actually don't have my own, like I borrow somebody's. I don't actually have a material stand, something for either holding something into the fire. And I've seen some really unique ways to do it. So a little slide bar that's literally welded to the under, square bar or square tubing that's welded to under your forge with a little slide rack that comes out. Like that's cool. Add that to, add a hinge in there that slides in and comes out and then turns. A lot of cool things you can do with that. I see the need. I just ain't done it. I would love to have one. I just ain't done it. Same thing with something that can adjust to the height of the anvil, you know. Um, but yeah, so anvil stands would be to tie those into, or anvil stands, material stands to tie that into tongs would be the bottom part of a tong because it's holding the metal up. So all you not, people saying, oh, tongs, it's supposed to be about tongs. Tongs! All right. That was a great joke, and I think Alexis is audio again push to talked. I was hoping for
Yes,
an
no,
audible
yeah,
laugh.
no, okay. Well, I was laughing, but I didn't bother with push to talk. I mean,
Uh, I
come
will
on
get a
now,
laugh going. I will get a laugh going,
right?
or at least, yeah, that was a good joke. Thank you. Thank you all. Hey, Mr. Pekka, long time no see. So yeah, on to what you guys, the bread and butter of a manipulating metal episode, the tongs themselves. And over the month, we will go into more detail of different types of hold downs, different types of ways to manipulate the metal, be it and material stands, tongs, chain hoists, whatever. But just kind of going over tongs. What are tongs? You know, something you toss a salad with. Um,
Tongs are an extension of your hand with a much higher resistance to heat.
than your hands. Yes. Um,
Oh, wait. Are we talking about tongs or are we talking about thongs? I mean, could talk about either one, I guess.
yeah. I'm reading the chat. I think they'd rather see me show off some thongs, but I'm really, really not going to do that. Promise you. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
so
we'll have to save that for an episode of Alexis Undressed or Unhinged or whatever. Be like,
right.
wow, wow.
Jack Pine says, I'd love to learn how smiths forge large pieces and if it made the flat table a requirement. I do know that for some of the larger, when you're talking like, for example, heavy duty chain, something like a anchor chain for a cruise liner, something that where the stock for it is not measured in inches, like freaking 1 foot round chain. I apparently won something and I am just getting blown up. Everybody's like, congratulations on the win. Um, but all right. I'm getting distracted here. I do believe for those, hold on, let me see.
Congratulations, you just won 2 Bitcoin.
Live now. Give me a few. All right. What was I saying? Yes, no, I think I won a, I don't know. I'll look into it in a bit. But, yeah, so chain hoists. Stop. Chain hoists. You know, before they had, you see a lot of those like industrial videos where they're manipulating. It's I always click anytime they pop up. I'm like, I gotta watch this. Where they got like a freaking forklift with a modified forklift or a skid steer with tongs on. Like I'm talking giant tongs that are like, the bits for them are like 5 foot and they're gripping this gigantic piece and manipulating it. Those are so cool. I want one so bad. I'll make a little 2 pound hammer with it. But but yeah, before they had those, I'm sure they, chain hoists, wrapping some chain around a bar of steel and maneuvering it that way. It's like one person could sit there, like wrap the thing around the chain and have, somebody on the chain, and then moving it around with a standard pair of tongs. Yes, albeit a large pair of tongs, but handheld tongs, maneuvering it, swinging it on the chain into the fire. All right, and then out of the fire, swing it over to the anvil, and then like several smiths that are on the hammer, just baton, 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 swing away, Merrill. Um, but yeah, Jack, that's really in my eyes how large stock was worked back then. But I see you talking. I'm thinking rails and grates. You know what? You don't need a table because you don't need the whole of it supported. That's where your tool rest, your material rest, dropped down to the size of the height of the anvil. You can rest that bar across one or two tool rests and just have the piece that you're working on over the anvil. Work on it, then slide it. Work on it and slide it. You know. And if you have a gas forge that is big enough to fit what you're working, like the size of it, you only need to slip it in. Obviously, open in the back, slip it in and heat up that area, then pull it out, or use an oxyacetylene torch to heat up just the area. Because remember, oxyacetylene torches are not brand new; they've been around for a long time. Don't get excited, Yamez. 2 Bitcoin is 2 rainbow farts and a donut. Enjoy your prize. Well, let's see. 1 Bitcoin right now is over $60,000, almost $70,000. So if I were to win even 1 Bitcoin right now, I'd be extremely excited. But yeah, that's also because I know how to cash it out if I need to, or to exchange it for a different token. But that's just me. But yeah, so
would you paper hands that Bitcoin if you won one?
right, if I won a single Bitcoin right now, or if I had a single Bitcoin right now, I would not sell. Because we're on a slight dip. We went from in this last 12-month period, it dropped down to I think like $16,000 from 60. And its high this 12-month period was I think $73,000, and the Bitcoin halving just happened, and we are on one of the last pullbacks before it actually climbs. I absolutely would hold. I have no need to sell it right now. But no, I don't think I want a Bitcoin. I would be blowing up a lot more if I want a Bitcoin. Muddy the waters. Anyway, and the tongs. Thank you, Mr. Maker. And the tongs. I'm going to turn this on mute. I can see it in the corner, but you guys don't have to hear it. And the tongs. So yeah, to the meat of the month, let's say. The meat of the month. Somebody take over from me. I'm just getting jokes popping up now. Tongs. Most smiths start or like Alexis said at the beginning, once you realize that channel locks or vice grips are a pain to use, they generally look into making their first pair of tongs. And the simplest and most beginner-friendly and versatile tongs are a pair of flat bit tongs. And as long as you can get that rotation of the stock in your mind, work it, quarter turn, work it, quarter turn, work it, and then repeat exactly on a second piece of stock, and then drill or punch a hole through it for the boss, and then rivet it. Riveting once is something that I recommend everybody practice on, just to get good at not mushrooming the inside, because that can lock up a pair of tongs very easily. And I said muddy the waters. But yeah, so they're giving me shit. Okay. A riveting contest would be kind of fun. Square rivet would be anyway. I'm getting, this isn't about rivets, guys. But yeah, simple quick tongs would be the flat bit tongs. Now, a while back I made a video on super simple beginner's tongs that are actually extremely useful, to the point where even though I have dozens of other tongs, I still use them whenever I'm in the shop, is the twisted tongs. Now, when I made that video, and it's like I came up with, like, I did that whole thing of like, oh, if I just punch a hole here and rivet them and then twist them, that's a pair of tongs, boom boom boom. I didn't know that there was other smiths that did that. In particular, Bill Corey has a video on it, and Roy had a video on it, and it was like, oh, cool, and that is something that, had I known trying my first pair of tongs, that would have been my first pair of tongs, because in the most basic sense of it, you take two equal size pieces of flat stock, find, how long you want your nibs to be, drill a hole through both of them, rivet or bolt that together, heat it up, and then twist it, and then boom, it works as a tong, or works as tongs. Then you shape the nibs the way you want them. That's what I use as hammer tongs, hammer billet tongs, and they work great. And something you can do to kind of flesh those out a bit is, before you rivet them together, after you drill the holes, take and heat up the reins of them, the handle aspect, or the handle part of them, and draw those out, or forge those down to a more comfortable circle or grip, of your choice, and then put them together and do the twist. Yeah. And that just, that's just that one little nice bit. You can even then go and forge out the ends to be bolt jaw tongs, V-bit tongs. You can shape the ends of them. It's that twist boss. Now, they are not the strongest tongs, but for a super beginner, which again, these episodes this year are geared towards beginners, that's a very good one. If you've got the income at the start, or the expendable income to start a new hobby, and you would like to buy tongs, that is not frowned upon at all. There are a lot of smiths who, I'd rather buy them than try to make them, And Tom's Tongs from Blacksmith Supply, or is it Blacksmith Depot? I think it's Blacksmith Supply, are a pretty fantastic option. I actually won a full set of Tom Tongs at Quad State last year, and oh my gosh, they are fun. I do have a large and small wolf jaw tong from them, and scrolling tongs and bolt jaw tongs, and they're just in general good tongs.
Yeah, I've got a couple pair of that style of tongs, and I love them. Like I think the ones I got are they have 3/8 bolt jaw. They got the square V bits in them or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, they hold round stock, square stock, hex stock. I mean,
they're great.
Pretty darn versatile, and they so anything from 3/8, just 3/8 won't rotate in it, all the way up to 5/8 is pretty much doable. So
I really do like them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know the guy from that place from Blacksmith Supply. He sponsors and I believe is a part of my guild, the Tidewater Blacksmiths Guild, and shows up to some of our meetings. He brings his truck, the same truck that he's got at Quad State. He brings his truck and sets up a little table, and you can buy from there. But also something that I haven't seen him do at Quad State that he does over by us is he's got a bucket of uh, tongs that were mistakes. Either the grooves weren't cut properly, or like they're just that little bit off that don't match the quality that he sells on his website, and you can buy them for like $15. They're great. I got 3 pairs of like long handled large stock tongs that he doesn't sell on his website. And you could take and turn those into damn near anything. It's great. Yes, oops tongs. Um, but yeah, rebar tongs were my firsts. I watched your vid too. Use that to make the wolf jaw. There you go, Keith. Wolf.
Yeah.
Keith brings up rebar tongs. A lot of people bring up, or try rebar tongs. A lot of beginners will try and work with rebar at the very start because it's easily accessible. It's one of the most scrapped bar stocks out there, and we've talked rebar to death in several episodes over the years.
I was gonna say I've got lots of oops tongs. they're all just tongs that I made and went, well, that didn't work.
Yeah. And on homemade tongs and stuff like that, and unique different tongs, what I find to be one of the more versatile pairs of tongs that I have actually was made by Donut Forge, Sprinkled Donut Forge. He sent them to me. It was a railroad spike challenge, make something out of railroad spikes, and he made me a pair of tongs out of railroad spikes, and they're only about yay long. They're like more like a pair of pliers than tongs, but you know what? I find that I use them a lot more than I thought I would, because I'm thinking you'd think be farther away from the fire, the heat. But when you've got a short pair of tongs, you got a lot of control over what you're working on. You really do.
That's not what she said.
So it's like other pairs of beginner tongs and bringing up railroad spikes. A lot of beginners will try with railroad spikes. Railroad spike knives are very popular. One of the big things is like they're an odd shape to hold, so you got several options. You can use a large pair of bolt jaw tongs, which if you're making your own and not buying them, those are it's that trick of trying to get that just right. You can use you over again at Sprinkled Donut Forge. He's teamed up with Robert Robinette, who I have to give a call to. I've been so busy. I've got to give him a call and talk with him. That he designed a pair of railroad spike tongs, which I actually have a pair. They're fantastic. I've featured them on the channel a lot.
Dude, those are easily the best railroad spike tongs I've ever seen in my life. I love them.
Ever. And you can get those through Sprinkled Donut Forge. He I believe still makes them. I'm not certain though. But for a quick and dirty pair, you can take a pair of old nips, like the hoof nippers, and cut off the sharp edges of them and weld a piece of chain on each side, and you've got yourself something that can grip, side grip a pair of or a railroad spike. Yeah, they're only yay long, but again, but you can't beat bolt jaws. Bolt jaws, let me see. In my opinion, the most versatile set of tongs would be the 1/2 inch bolt jaw tongs, offset bolt jaw tongs, because they can pretty much grip. I mean, unless you're doing extremely small stuff that's, a lot smaller than 1/2 inch, of course. Um, Heck, you know what? I'll even go 1/4 inch, because 1/4 inch you can readjust them so that they grip something bigger, but you can't really readjust 1/2 inch to go smaller. All right. I don't know how my quality is going to be. I just got a big error on YouTube. It says YouTube is not receiving enough to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers are going to lag. But with offset tongs, you can grab bar stock in the middle of it. All right. Are you guys experiencing the circle of death here? Because I am. I'm getting errors are getting thrown, dropping.
I say, it's always handy to be able to grab your stock from one end or the other end or the middle. A little bit of versatility there.
Absolutely. Okay, no circle for you guys. All right, yeah, I was dropping 13% of my frames and errors up on YouTube and all that fun stuff.
Well, and you were digitizing on my end Discord too. So, that could all, of course, that's always possibly my service where I'm particularly driving at. But if you were getting YouTube errors, it was probably internet on your end because
Absolutely.
the lag.
Yeah. So, but with that, that's kind of just a nice intro to beginners tongs. We can go much deeper into different, more specialized styles of tongs: pickup tongs, fire tongs, salad tongs, the universal tongs, hammer tongs, tomahawk tongs. Like all sorts of different styles that we'll get into this month. And ultimately, yeah, it's one of those. If you guys have tongs that we want to talk about, or that you want us to talk about, hit us up in the Discord and say, hey, talk about these tongs this month, and we'll force we'll chain Adam to a chair and make him, research the history of it, and he'll give you a full report on when they were first invented, what materials they used. Alexis will slip in how many isotopes those tongs have, and we'll give you a full, complete rundown on a specific set of tongs if you want, or we'll just talk in general terms. The trail dust, there will be plenty of room for rabbit holes in this month.
Wait, who's rabbit hole?
I don't know. Trail dust wants rabbit holes. Continually, Yamez, but I am in the future and 20,000 miles away. Absolutely. All right. Yeah. Yeah, the offset tongs. Offset tongs are probably one of my more favored sets of tongs. I only have one pair, but I try to use them whenever I can. And you can take a pair of... Huh?
So I've never actually used a set of offset tongs. I've always wanted to.
Do you have a pair of bolt jaw tongs?
One time. Yes, I do. And I'm not gonna. I mean, and they're really nice tongs. It cost me a bit of money. I'm not gonna heat them up and bend them to the side. But I was to say I tried building a set of bolt jaw tongs one time, and I was gonna do them offset, and for one reason or another, the jaws just wound up not drawing out the same length, and they were all kinds of wonky, and I was just like, all right, never mind, and wound up I think I actually wound up breaking them, but
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a that was a complete waste of like 3 feet of stress proof. In
Oh,
hindsight,
yeah?
not what I should have done with that material.
Right. Yes, offset jaws work great on shapes like hooks. Absolutely. Anywhere where you got to grab somewhere where you have a spot that doesn't fit in a bolt jaw. But yeah, so coming up on the end here, Alexis, do you have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I don't have a whole lot really. I mean, this month we're going to be talking about different ways of manipulating metal, from tongs to hold downs to seat clamp devices. You name it. Any way of moving metal or stopping metal from moving while you're trying to work with it. That's kind of where we're going. And I'm sure Adam's going to have a 30-minute spiel next week and take some of the heat off. But and I know he's going to hear this and be like, I'm going to trim my shit down to 29 minutes just because you said that.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen is he's going to try to trim it down to 29 minutes, but it's going to end up being about 36.
Yeah, right. But no, other than that, I mean, y'all have a great week. Have fun. Get out your shop if you can and do something. And if you can't, maybe contemplate about what you can do the next time you're out there. Yeah, that's it. Y'all have a great week. Stay safe, and I will see you guys maybe sometime this week for an interim episode. My show. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what the board looks like, but I got a subject matter at hand. I just got to have time to do a show. So I'll see you guys then, or I'll see you guys next Sunday.
Absolutely. And as usual, I just want to thank everybody here for showing up and hanging out. You guys are all fantastic, and I really hope that if you guys come across some new smiths, you share some of these videos, and if it comes up in the topic, be like, oh, y'all are talking about tongs, check this out. They talk to tongs, talking tongs. You can always tune in or tell people to tune in on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern. Check that to your local standard time. And this has been an episode of the Impractical Blacksmiths, and I really enjoyed having y'all here. Thank you very much. Big thank you to my co-host Alexis with me, and from the truck today. I mean, I got a message last night as I was eating dinner, like, oh, I might not be here tomorrow. Oh no, y'all know how horrible I am on my own. So yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and call that there. You guys have all been wonderful, and we'll talk to you next week. Adios, everybody.